Okay, so hello everyone, and in chapter 2 we were going to discuss values and attitudes. So these are personal factors that relate to you as individuals, and we'll see where it falls in the three-part organizing framework, whether it's into inputs or processes or outputs. So in this chapter we're going to talk about your personal values. What are the things as you as an individual deem important to you? Remember, these are the same regardless of the situation that you're in. So if you value, let's say, equality, that's something that you should value regardless of the situation that you're put in. Then we're going to look at something that's more specific, which are personal attitudes, which are opinions or your feelings or your inclinations to a specific topic or behavior. The next thing that we're going to talk about are key workplace attitudes. So personal attitudes could be your attitudes towards smoking, towards equality of gender in the workplace. These are specific, but there are key workplace attitudes, or what we consider outcomes in the model, like job satisfaction, employee turnover, employee engagement, and we'll talk more about what these constructs or concepts are. The very interesting thing also is we're going to talk about a specific job outcome, which is job satisfaction, and what causes it. And finally, what are the consequences of job satisfaction? Because when people are satisfied with their jobs, they're more likely to stay with it. So there's lower employee turnover and they perform better. And if you're in a customer-oriented company, your customers are more satisfied. Like with Southwest Airlines employees are very highly satisfied, and this leads them to have highly satisfied customers. So let's take a look at what are the things that we're going to talk about and where they fall into this framework. So we have values, attitudes, and intentions on the left-hand side. So these are inputs into any OB-related situation, and then there are outcomes that we're going to talk about in this chapter as well, which are workplace attitudes, and citizenship behavior, which is part of also outcomes at the individual level. So helping others without being paid for it, that's citizenship behavior, as well as turnover. So the number of employees who come and go from the organization are less. It also leads to superior performance at the organization level, not at the level of the employee himself, but at the level of the organization as a whole. So it's better, higher level of profits, better financial performance, higher sales, and as we said, also, higher level of customer satisfaction, as with the example that we talked about, Southwest Airlines. Okay, so we're going to answer these questions over here. So what role do values play in influencing my behavior? How do personal attitudes affect workplace behavior? Why should management pay attention to workplace attitudes? How changes in the workplace improve job satisfaction? And what work-related outcomes are associated with job satisfaction? Okay, great. So let's jump in. The first learning objective is talking about personal values. And personal values, as we said, they're abstract ideas that guides one thinking across all situations. Okay, they are not related to a specific situation that we have on hand. So they're not our opinions about laying off employees. It's not our attitudes towards hiring a specific type of employee. It is something that we as individuals see as very important. Okay, so in some Asian cultures, there seems to be a higher emphasis on values that emphasize tradition, keeping things the same. In some societies, there is an emphasis on hedonism, on achievement, on maybe sometimes power. All of these are abstract ideas. And if you look at, there is one theory which is called Schwartz value theory, and they organize values into this circumference over here, or into the circle. And values that are opposite to one another are basically incongruent with each other. So for example, power and achievement, these are very, I would say, individualistic values. These are related to pursuing your own interests. However, universal and benevolence, on the other hand side, are what we call part of self-transcendence values, which are values that emphasize the well-being of others. Okay, and we look at the other side, we have openness to change versus conservation. And openness to change are values that emphasize the ability to deal with new situations that are new to you, like going to new cultures, experiencing places that you're not used to. On the other hand, there are values of conservation, which emphasize keeping the status quo. So values that are kind of next to each other are similar or share some, are called complementary. They share some basis, but that are opposite to one another are incongruent values. So why are values important in the context of a workplace? Well, they're very important in the context of a workplace because people who work for organizations that are congruent with their values will experience high levels of job satisfaction, and they will be more likely to perform their jobs in a good way, to higher job performance. Okay. So, for example, that's like consumers, employees who, for example, that value, let's say, preserving the environment, will also be very happy working at Patagonia. Okay, and Patagonia ensures that a lot of the different products do not harm the environment. Okay, so basically, this is what we said: personal values, if they're consistent with the organization that they work for, will lead to lower employee turnover, higher employee retention, higher employee engagement, and increased customer satisfaction. And we're going to talk about what engagement and satisfaction are in the next couple of slides, but they're towards the end of this chapter. So which of the following statements is not true about personal values? In general, values are relatively stable across time and situations. Values tend to vary across generations. Schwartz's value theory can be generalized across cultures, or values are not motivational in nature, or not all values are compatible. Well, look, if you answered D, then you're right. Values are energizing. They motivate us, right? So if you are power, oriented or achievement oriented, then they will lead you to succeed, to seek maybe jobs or positions in which you can gain power or in which you can express your level of achievement. Or if you are, emphasizing self-transcendence and you want to work with others, you care about others, you might work in, let's say, higher education or even in education in general, where you are concerned about the welfare and about the education and about learning of others.